welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Bunny by Mona Awad. Now what can I even say about this book? This book is insane. It's been quite a popular book on BookTok, BookTube, Bookstagram, all of the social media book things. This book is packed full of vibes that the people of TikTok would like. It's got dark academia, it's got cults, it's got some twisted horror, it's got Alice in Wonderland kind of themes. It's like Mean Girls, it's like Heathers, it's a satirical take on the popular girl according to the back of the book. And despite hitting on a lot of popular niches, it still manages to be original and unique and thought-provoking. The writing quality is excellent. There's a lot of vivid descriptions that really make you picture everything that happens in a really fictional, fantastical way. It makes it really feel like you've taken some mind-altering drugs and the lens through which you're looking at Samantha's world is the same as the lens that she's looking at it with, which is that of delusion. It had some like comedic elements, and in that way, that unhinged comedic horror kind of blend. It was a bit like an American Horror Story season, like maybe one of the good ones, not one of the new shit ones. I think this is really the perfect September, October kind of book to read. It's perfect for spooky season, it's perfect for back to school, back to uni vibes. I'm really glad that I just happened to pick it up at this time of year. Now if you've not read the book, click off now, join me for the next one, thank you for watching, because I am going to be getting into the specifics of what happens or doesn't happen in this book. So you've had your warning, thank you, goodbye, bye Bunny. And hi Bunny to all of you that are staying around to join my little cult. So in this book we have this kind of loner girl, Samantha. She's got this gothic friend and they criticise these popular girls in her writing cohort called the Bunnies. They are rich girls, pretentious, they've all got their own writing niches, they've all got their own fashion sense and personality, and at first they're really exclusionary towards Samantha. But that all changes at the start of this year, the final year of her fictional writing MFA or whatever it is, and they invite her to take part in one of their little parties, this little smut salon, which is a vibe in itself. And despite the fact that she hates these girls, that she thinks she's better than them but also feels left out and excluded by them, she decides to go along. And during this smut salon she shares a story about this boy called Rob Valencia. She says that they used to die together every night on stage because they took part in this play in high school. They would get electrocuted and they would fall down and die, and they would lie close to each other for the remainder of the play, and that was the most intimacy she'd ever felt. And this story in itself is a little bit fabricated. She romanticizes it. She makes out like her and Rob Valencia had this sexual tension and this like undercurrent of not love but intimacy. And in real life that's not really what happened, and he didn't really notice her too much. And I think that in itself tells us a little bit about Samantha's state of mind and about Samantha's delusion. And after she's shared the story, after she's passed out drunk at this party, the next time she's at the Bunny's house, there's all these weird guys there, and Rob Valencia shows up and he's acting very weird and childlike and very doting and in love with her, and he's wearing these weird gloves and he's drinking from a sippy cup. And all of these other boys there at this kind of fake prom that the girls are holding are all behaving in the same manner. Now it's weird that these 25-year-old university students are even having a fake prom, but that also speaks to how immature all of the girls are, and all of the bunnies have this weird infantilization about them. The way they talk about sex, the way they write about sex is very teenager. It's very not realistic. There's no true intimacy there. When Samantha tries to ask this Rob Valencia questions about himself, he just explodes, which is very shocking to us and to Samantha. What we later find out when the bunnies take her upstairs to the attic is that they are taking bunnies, which are all over the campus for some reason, and they are transforming them into boys that they want to fuck, basically. They're doing this creepy magic and the bunny explodes, and then this weird infantilized version of a man that doesn't quite have hands and doesn't quite have a penis shows up and acts like their doting boyfriend for a while. Now a lot of these are like mutated, they're a little bit simple in the head, and the girls end up killing a number of them with an axe because they just scream and they just show a lot of distress, or they drive them out to the desert and abandon them. There's a number of these bunny boys just roaming around the town, working, somehow making it in life. Samantha also talks about how there's always a lot of decapitations in the middle of the day, violent attacks, essays going on around the town, and that it's not a safe place to be. So at this point we're thinking, are these bunny boys running around killing people? That question's never really answered, but it does add to a sense of foreboding that this town is really fucked up and weird. Now the bunnies make a lot of these boys, and they call them drafts, or they call them darlings, and they're always striving to make a better boy and one that's closer to being able to actually fuck. And they talk about always having to kill these darlings because in creative writing that's something that they're always told to do. You have to kill your darlings. But these bunnies are not managing to make men that they can truly connect with or have any intimacy with at all. It's not until they give Samantha a try, and at first it seems to not work. Her bunny hops away and is then later killed. But she manages to make a stag from outside into a boy, and he's got real hands, and he's got real sexual chemistry, and he's got a penis, and he sort of changes. He's described as really wolf-like, kind of like a predator, but his eyes change colour, his features seem to change colour. He constantly is morphing into past lovers that Samantha has had, and he has disdain for these bunnies the way Samantha does, because she disdains the bunnies because she can't really be them. She's still an outsider despite being part of the bunnies' little cult. It's at this point her friend Ava comes back into the picture. Ava was her best friend, but she kind of lost track of her when she got all into the drugs and the cult of the bunnies, and she's been missing her a lot. And this wolfy stag boy ends up in a relationship with Ava, and he loves her because Samantha actually loves Ava. And Samantha ditches the bunnies and finds her way back to Ava. Meanwhile, bunny boy, or stag boy, wolf boy, manipulates all the bunnies, really like dickmatizes them, and really changes who they are as people. He really tears apart their whole friendship group. Now things in the book just keep getting weirder and weirder and more fantastical, and it's really difficult to tell what's real and what's Samantha's delusion. She comes home to her and Ava's house, where Max, this wolf boy, is also living, and after she told the truth to Ava that Max, her boyfriend, is actually a boy that she created and that he loves her because she loves her, she finds a dead swan in the house. And it turns out that Ava's not real. Ava was just a swan that she kind of made up to be a person. So her best friend and the girl that she loves this whole time has actually just been a figment of her imagination. And whatever these bunny boys are, who knows if they're real or not at this point. And the bunnies, they all get horribly injured when Samantha takes an axe to this boy's neck, right where his axe tattoo is, and he turns back into a stag and just like fucks them all up basically. The novel kind of ends with her looking at the swan pond where she first met Ava, where there's a solo swan swimming around, and she's toying with the idea of imagining Ava back into her life. But she's approached by Jonah, this normalish kind of lonely, sober boy that is a bit similar to Samantha in his loneliness, comes and talks to her and asks if she wants to hang out, and she makes the decision to hang out with him rather than stay in her own delusion. So I see this ending as fairly hopeful. She's choosing to connect with a real person who she might have something in common with, even if she doesn't particularly like him that much, over her idealised fantasies of fake people. And she sort of lets the things with the bunnies go. She doesn't even stay to talk to them about what's happened, what fake accident they're going to make up to explain their injuries. I think at this point she's over obsessing about whether she's part of this popular in-group or not. And I think that's a good call, because she really didn't like these girls to begin with. She completely disdained them. She completely thinks that she's better than them. And yet, because they're popular, she wants to be part of their group. And she even ditches her fake, perfect friend or lover to be with them because popularity is more important to her at that point, or because she gets drunk and a little bit bamboozled by the drugs. It's unclear. But I think it's positive that she stops giving these people her attention because they're not relevant anymore. Now, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in that plot, But I think at the core of it, this book is about Samantha's delusion and about Samantha's loneliness. Now, a lot of people talk about this book as a satire and a critique of the popular girls, which I think that it is, but I think I'm less interested in the bunnies than I am in Samantha herself and the way she perceives the bunnies. The bunnies are ridiculous and they're infantile and they lack intimacy, true intimacy, with boys and with each other. They're constantly telling each other how much they love each other and I love you bunny and all of this stuff and hugging, but there's no true connection there. It all seems very performative, and when a boy comes in between them, they all loathe each other. Samantha throughout the novel makes reference to how lonely she's been, and that is why she's created this fictional friend. That's why she wants to be part of the bunnies clique even though she doesn't like them. You know, her mum's passed away, her dad is fleeing the law or some shit, and she's just living in total squalor on her own. In the midway point of this novel, she just spent all of Christmas alone. Her teacher even invites her to be nice, and she can't stop scorning the teacher as well. She really thinks she's above the teacher, even though she has tried to be nice. The way this book is written, because it's from Samantha's perspective, is overly literary and overly pretentious. And it's this that is keeping Samantha's distance from other people. Throughout the book, Samantha talks about this supervisor that she has called the Lion. You know, he's called the Lion to make it seem like he's a predator. And it's kind of implied that something's gone on between them, that he's been a predator, potentially that there's been an assault taking place, even though she insists that there hasn't been. And towards the end of the novel, you find out that what's happened is that she's kind of become his friend. She's gone back to his apartment, and she has just one day, after having a few too many drinks, just really opened herself up, and she's shared a lot of really personal things about her loneliness, about her parents, about her class, about how she's feeling, and it's described as her just pouring it all out and leaving it all there on the floor. And as she's doing this, she really regrets it and wishes she could just pick it up all off the floor, because it's damaging this relationship that she has with him, which was probably quite a shallow relationship before that. They would hang out and they would talk about books, but they wouldn't necessarily talk about these deep topics. And the Lion doesn't really respond to this, he's just silent, and so she picks up and leaves, and then from then on they have this really awkward, really kind of professional relationship, and that little connection that she had, she's lost. And I kind of empathise with her in that moment. Like, what's more painful than finally finding some sort of connection, really opening yourself up and being vulnerable, and then not being met with that and not being held and being kind of rejected or looked at with pity, and then having that person kind of leave your life. And I think what's probably happened is she's crossed a boundary in their like professional relationship. Boundaries have already kind of been crossed in how they've been spending time together, and so he probably has to distance himself, if he's a good guy, to not be, you know, trying to have a relationship with a student. But she perceives this as like true rejection, and these allusions to it being like an assault, it's almost like she feels assaulted, like the pain she feels is similar because she was vulnerable and she opened herself up and was hurt and rejected. And while this revelation comes at the end of the book, this is obviously a preceding event to everything that happens in the book. Why she's vulnerable to going with the bunnies, why she's made up Ava as this fictional friend and this confidant, and why she even gets into trying to make these fictional boys that she could potentially connect with. So that's my interpretation of the book. That's what I think it explores, and that's what I think's what's happened. I'm not sure what's literally happened, the bunny boys and all of the really weird shit. It's possible that some of it's occurring, or that maybe she has schizophrenia or some other sort of disorder that is causing her to really lose grip with reality. Obviously, she's very delusional, but I'm not sure if that's gone to the extent of hallucinating. I don't think so. I think it's probably more of a she's daydreaming, and she's like maladaptive daydreaming and making this whole fictional world kind of layered over the real world. And that is then what she writes about and hands in as her final thesis. So that's my thoughts. I won't get too into the weeds of doing a proper critique. I think everyone can take something different away from this novel. I think it's so weird. That's really hard to know if something's been done badly on purpose or because Samantha's delusional, because she's an unreliable narrator. I think it's really hard to see what the author is trying to say because she's saying it through this unreliable narrator that isn't in her right mind. And so I think it's hard to be too overly critical. I think I just end up being critical about the characters and their morals and their ethics within the book, or their pretentiousness. So I'm not going to do that. Obviously, if you're still watching this video, it's because you've read the book. Comment and let me know what you think of my interpretation, what your interpretation is, whether you liked it, whether you didn't. I think I'll give this book about 4.75 stars. Like, I thought it was pretty excellent, but I'm not sure if I like all the way got it. That's probably the point. I don't know what it would have to do to be 5 stars for me, but 4.75 just seems to intuitively be right for me. And I would definitely recommend this book, but not to everyone. I think it probably speaks to like young women, young college-aged women, young adults, even though it's got quite adult themes. But anyway, that's all from me. I could probably say a lot more, but I won't harp on. Let me know your thoughts and tune in for the next one. Bye!